Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F-words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Rise up! Team Red! Rise up! Team Red!
This is the Rise Up See Red podcast, all about the Arizona Cardinals and the NFL, featuring insider and outsider perspectives. Enjoy the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. Now here are your hosts, Jess Root and Seth Cox.
Hello, Arizona Cardinals fans, and welcome to the latest edition of the Rise Up See Red podcast, the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. I'm your host, Jess Root from CardsWire.com, USA Today's NFL Wire site that covers, of course, your Arizona Cardinals. And with me is my co-host, Seth Cox from RevengeOfTheBirds.com, SB Nation's Arizona Cardinals site, as we have episode 781. As we break down the Cardinals schedule, we're recording on a Thursday night, just a few hours after the Cardinals released their 2026 regular season schedule. And the first thing we want to do is run through that. Although, Seth, we do have to comment on the Cardinals release video, the little AI-based mascot Zoom. You know, the Cardinals take losses on the field. The Cardinals get beat up on, in the offseason. We're used to that. But they are getting dog-walked by everybody on the internet for their release video. The Cardinals can't even win something dumb, can they?
No, and it's unfortunate, man. You look at all of what they've done and they decide to use AI and green screens and all these other teams are doing creative stuff, or at least going straight forward, right? And the Cardinals look like they just went low rent, low budget. And that's unfortunate because the social media person doesn't deserve that.
No.
They don't. And that's not on that social media person. And so that's what the issue becomes. Is it just, you read some of the things, right? Like Carter Donick on X, post cheapest team in the league that routinely gets F on every aspect of NFLPA organizational grades, resorting to AI slot for the biggest content creation opportunity of the NFL year. Like, that's just unfair to the social media team. But and by the way, the criticism is not of the social media team. I can promise you that. Like, I talked to the NFL people, and they don't criticize, the actual social media team of the Cardinals. They're actually well respected. They just know that they work for someone that doesn't care about this stuff, and until they learn that this stuff matters, for better or worse, that you're going to continue to take L's on and off the field. And that is just, those are just situations. those are just situations that are inevitably coming because of ownership. Um, and that all plays itself out in kind of not just how they release the schedule, but then what the schedule looks like for them, right?
Yes, 100%. Now, we are going to run down that schedule. We want to point out that Seth and I combined picked correctly 4 of the games when they're going to be. Seth hit on the week 2 game. I hit on 3 of them, but this is what the schedule looks like. Week 1 on the road against the LA Chargers. Week 2 at home, Seattle Seahawks. Week 3 on the road, San Francisco 49ers. Week 4 on the road against the New York Giants. Week 5 home against the Lions. Week 6 on the road against the Rams. Week 7 home against the Broncos. Week 8 on the road against the Cowboys, followed by week 9 on the road against the Seahawks. Week 10 at home against the Rams. Week 11 in Kansas City to play the Chiefs. Week 12 home Washington Commanders. Week 13 home Philadelphia Eagles. Week 14 finally their bye week. Week 15 Jets at home. Week 16 Saints on the road, followed by 2 games to end the season. Raiders at home, week 17, 49ers at home, week 18.
I feel like I should get credit for that Saints game too, because man, I called that non division game late. I just didn't think that they'd get a week 17 game right on or at home.
Yeah. And that was, they haven't had a week 17 home game in forever. And that's always because of the Fiesta Bowl. Turns out that because of how the schedule, because of how the calendar works, is that week 17 is on January 3rd, which is after the Fiesta Bowl. And so they will have cleared everything out. They have the Fiesta Bowl on January 1st, and the Cardinals play January 3rd. So January 2nd is going to be a busy day at State Farm Stadium. And we'll see what happens with the turf in that game, having a game 2 days before that. But this is why it is at home. And I guess we should have looked at the calendar as when the Fiesta Bowl was. But that is why they are at home for the first time in week 17 in my memory forever. I cannot remember the last time they played at home in week 17. But it was the reason why they never did, because of the Fiesta Bowl. But this year, the Fiesta Bowl actually is played 2 days before that. And that is why. And Seth did have the Cardinals on the road against the Saints.
I just copy and pasted that Falcons game last year. I was like, yeah, they made him go on the road late. And I was like, they're going to make him go on the road late against the NFC South again.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we look at this schedule and yeesh, this is going to be, and yeah, it's an interesting schedule. They start off with 3 games. They play the first 3 out of the 4 on the road, and crazily, they play 5 of their final 6 games at home. And if you include the bye, they're on the road only once in the final 7 weeks of the season. I have not seen anything
I've
like
never
that.
ever seen anything like that, man. That is legitimately
but you know
wild.
why that is, right? You know why?
Because yeah, they're terrible.
They're irrelevant.
Yeah.
They're just irrelevant. And that is, and I will say this, we're going to talk, in fact, coming up next on the Rise Up C-Red podcast, Mr. Cardinals Talk. Let's get into the schedule and talk about why the league hates the Cardinals. That's coming up next on Rise Up C-Red. We're back on the Rise Up C-Red podcast. It's our Cardinals Talk on the web. As we look at the Cardinals 2026 regular season schedule. And when we look at the schedule, we have nothing else but to wonder, why does the league hate us? Why does the league hate the Cardinals? They are on the road for the 4th straight season to start off the year, 6th time in the last 7 years. They have the latest bye week they can have. Week 14 is the last week where there are bye weeks, and they have it in week 14. On top of that, they're in the Hall of Fame game. So they play 4 preseason games. Now everyone gets a weekend off for Labor Day after final cuts. And then the Cardinals play every single week for 13 weeks before they get a bye. And they get no primetime games. They didn't even get the Thursday night Cardinals Raiders game that we thought would be the best shot at a primetime game for the Cardinals. But Seth, why does the league hate the Cardinals?
Well, I think it starts with what we open, what we open the show with. You're talking about an organization that at every turn does the bare minimum. And I know that upsets people. I get that. But this is just a reality. It starts when you look at basic things like the social media post on that. It's literally the biggest day of the year for social media teams in the NFL. Like there are basically competitions amongst other NFL organizations to see who can get the most likes, views, all of that stuff.
And you saw the tweet from Teo Mackey over at the Republic, as he was tracking the division, the likes on the schedule release video, in terms of quantity, matched basically the standings last year, where you had 3 teams where they were highly interacted with, and then the Cardinals.
And that just is depressing, man. Like, it just, again, I don't like, and they're almost up to 1 million views, but they're ratioed into oblivion. Like, literally, like, for those that don't know ratio, it's like when the likes doesn't equal the comments and the repost or retweets, whatever you want to call them, right? Like, so basically you're getting hate clicks, and to be fair, hate clicks are still clicks, right? But you're getting hate clicks, you're not getting something that somebody's seeking out. And so that's the first thing. It's the bare minimum effort from the organization on things. Second, we talked about the coaching situation, right? They gave Cliff a nice raise and extended him, but outside of that, it's been a lot of bargain basement shopping in terms of the coaching hires. I'm not sure, they always got their guy, that's the token line, but how much of that is true? It felt like Jonathan Gannon was their guy. It didn't feel that way with Mike LaFleur, right? Like it felt
especially at the report that came out later that said they were willing to open up the bank account for Clint Kubiak.
And so, that's again, I don't blame the NFL for kind of pushing back against the Cardinals, because it does feel a little bit like they're tanking. And so it almost feels like the NFL's like, all right, you're going to bring back a quarterback that's 2-15 as a starter, and at least the Patriots were like, all right, later, Jacoby, right? Like, see you later. They brought back a defensive coordinator that has allowed the second, or coached the defense that has allowed the second most points. I believe it's second. I want to double check my work before I say anything, but I believe it's the second most points in the NFL since 2023. Like, that's a bad look. And I get it to an extent. Like, they're realistically, there's this, they didn't have any other options, right?
That's the thing, is like they ended up with Nick Rallis, but it didn't feel like that's who they wanted. It never felt that's who they wanted, but they kept that option open because the other guys that they interviewed just didn't want to, or reached out to, didn't want it. Gus Bradley didn't want it. He wanted to go hang out with his buddy Robert Saleh out in Nashville.
Right.
He'd rather tag along and just be cool old guy with Robert Saleh rather than calling a defense for the Cardinals,
which is just like literally one of the most absurd things you can think of.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta hang out with your buddy. I mean, I get that. I get that to some extent.
But it just makes it really difficult, man, it just makes it really difficult because it just seems as though there is nothing that they're doing that plays to them being successful. And that's frustrating for you and I, right? Yeah. Like you and I talked about this behind the scenes, and we felt like 4 wins was probably right about where they're going to be this year. And we'll get into our predictions after the fact, but you and I also talked after it came out, and I know people are going to think we're lying, but like, I think us trying to get them to 4 wins is us being a little enthusiastic about things. Like,
a little bit. It is a little bit.
The way the schedule came out, and to play 13 consecutive games before a bye, to basically have this, like, you look at the way the schedule fell, and it's not like, and you kind of even, like, last night, I remember, or the other night, you even said, like, when I had them going to New York and then to Seattle, you're like, oh man, that's a weird, not a weird, but it's like, you usually don't see that, right? You usually don't see cross country trips like that for teams. And the NFL did that to the Cardinals. They go to San Francisco and then to New York. And so you look at it and you just say, like, there's not a game on the schedule that you look at and you go with confidence, yeah, they could win that game. In fact, I believe it was Bo Brack, but I don't quote me on that, and I'm double checking now, but I believe that DraftKings just posted that the Cardinals are actually underdogs in every single game. Jess, they're underdogs against the Jets at home. Like, at home, they're underdogs against the Jets. That's
snoozer of a game between Geno Smith and Jacoby Brissett. Oh my goodness.
And so, yeah, it's wild to look at this and not think like, yeah, the NFL just genuinely doesn't respect the Cardinals operation as a whole, because this is, they're not traveling all over the place, but that it wasn't going to change. Nothing was going to change that, right? Like it wasn't like they were going international, because that's, I think, a actual crime, to make, another country have to watch them play live. But yeah, I mean, like this whole thing came out, and it's just, it's ugly, man. And again, this should have been a big day. It should have gotten fans excited. And it just feels like it's done the complete opposite of that at this point, right? And it was Bo's got it there on his chart. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I get it. They're only 1.5 point underdogs, but still, dude, they're 1.5 point home underdogs against the Jets.
Oh man. Well, here's my take on this. It's, is it the league hating the Cardinals, or is it the league just understanding what the Cardinals are? Because they couldn't have, for a team, look at the defenses that they're facing the first 3 weeks of the year: Chargers, Seahawks, 49ers. That's not easy. Now, the fact of the matter is, we know why they didn't get any primetime games. There's 3 factors that go into primetime games. 1, competitiveness. Okay, they're not going to be that. They're not projected to be that. 2,
well, and to be fair, the teams they are projected. So again, in the algorithm of looking at point spreads, the reality is the ones that are toss ups, so to speak, are Jets and Raiders. And we talked about that. Those were literally Thursday night special games at best. Like that was it. There was nothing more that they were going to get from that, right?
Yeah. They need to be popular. Cardinals aren't popular. They've never been a nationally popular team. So the only time that they get relevant is 1, when they were good; 2, when Kyler Murray made them interesting. And they need to be interesting or intriguing. The Cardinals have nobody intriguing on that. They've got the number 3 overall pick, Jeremy Love. Now, he's not a draw yet. He could become that, but like in terms of quarterback personalities, and I don't know if there is a more boring starting quarterback or a less interesting starting quarterback than you can trot out than Jacoby Brissett. He's not bad. He's not bad. I'm not bagging, but if you're talking about any quarterback situation in the NFL and who you've got starting, Geno Smith's pretty close, but he's actually accomplished things. Jacoby Brissett's the least interesting starting quarterback in the NFL because he's not young and interesting. Like there's no upside to him. There's no youthful upside to him. There's no track record of having been good. He's just a dude. And a Jacoby Brissett led team in terms at quarterback, that's the least interesting thing you could have at quarterback. Gardner Minshew at least has flair. You get the ups and downs. Like Jacoby Brissett, even when he's putting up fantasy numbers, is doing it in the most boring fashion. They're getting blown out by 20 points. Gardner Minshew, he's fun. I mean, he's a mullet. He's a motorhome, and oh man, and he's fun. And he's going to make plays. He's going to look fabulous. And then going to look atrocious. And Carson Beck has upside, but he's not intriguing yet. He's not intriguing yet. He's a 3rd-round rookie. And so
right. And
that's all they are. And honestly, if the Cardinals are going to lose a lot of games, why not hide the Cardinals and then give them a touch of hope late in the year to be moderately interesting at the end of the year for the fans?
Well, and that's just it. You look at it and they're going like, hey, we're going to force their hand. Like, you guys want to roll out Jacoby Brissett. You want to roll back with Nick Rawlis. All right. Well, we'll make sure that you're losing enough games early in the season that you have to play Jacoby Brissett. And what was interesting, right, is that discussion that we'll have kind of to end this thing, right? But the idea that the league would kind of look at them and go, no, we're not going to give you a soft landing. Like, it's going to be late in the year. Because, you know, I saw Gambo's tweet today, and it was like, I think he starts against the Commanders, and I'm like, yeah, I don't hate that. You know, it's week 12. We talked about this on the other show, right? That gives you 6 games. It's not the worst. You know, he'll play 5 home games, and even the road game is a dome game. So all 6 of his starts will come in a dome. You know, you're probably looking at 2 winnable games on paper, obviously, 2 winnable games against the Jets and Raiders, and 2 toss-ups against the Commanders and the Saints. So, like, that stretch of 6 games is probably the best. My only thing is, like, looking at it and going, I really don't want this dude to have to play Philly in his second freaking game. Like, wow. I get the idea behind the thought. I really do. And I don't hate it, but I really don't want him to have to play Philly his second game ever. You know, that's a tall ask. Now there are conversations we can have, right? There's a reality out there where the Eagles have completely self-combusted, right?
It could happen based on, well, if they still have AJ Brown, one,
right?
But we know that Nick Sirianni is, he's not the guy to be the coach when things are not steady. Remember, they were in the Super Bowl and had a Super Bowl lead, and then they lost to the Chiefs. And then the beginning, about the first half of the next year, people were all ready to fire him. He's an interesting character. Jalen Hurts is an interesting personality, and his play, he's incredibly polarizing. Yeah, but yes, it's interesting. But let's not dwell on all the reasons why the league hates the Cardinals. And, you know, outside of here, we understand, we get it. They're not a team that's easy to root for. They've been a mess. But coming up next on the Rise of Sierra podcast, the best our Cardinals talk on the web, we'll wrap things up and talk about the things that we kind of like about the schedule. That's coming next on Rise of Sierra. We're back on the Rise of Sierra podcast, the best our Cardinals talk on the web. Positives with the schedule. Well, I think first and foremost, if this year's goal, if we want to go in with this setting, with the mindset is we want to see offensive progress, but lose a ton of games, we've got it. We've got that. But there is the one thing I like, and it's almost like the league built this up. And I know you're talking about Gambo mentioning, you know, by the Chiefs, kind of week 11. The idea's about November is when you get rookies in there. But if we're late in the season, there is a perfect small sample size. And I know Mike LaFleur is kind of talking about the idea that it's really good for Carson Beck to sit. But we've got the perfect lead in for just a sample size of Carson Beck that will give Cardinals fans just enough hope for the future because of that bye. And we know that changes can often come at the bye. If the Cardinals are, I talked to you about this before the show. I firmly think that the Cardinals are going to end up having all 3 of their guys. I think Jacoby, Minshew, and Carson Beck will all end up starting games in 2026. And the stage is set for Beck to have a little bit of success because they have that week 14 bye. After that you got a tough run at the beginning of the year where you've got Chargers, Seahawks, 49ers. And then you get the Giants, you get the Lions should be good. Then the defense, you've got Lions, Rams, Broncos, then you got the Cowboys, and then you got the Seahawks and the Rams and Chiefs and Commanders, and if the Commanders are good again, that middle of the schedule is brutal. Where you go Rams, Chiefs, Commanders, Eagles before the bye. But after the bye, do you want to make that change to Beck? You've got 4 games left. You've got the Jets, Saints, Raiders, and 49ers. And what a good way to get a young quarterback in against teams that are not expected to be good, to show off your rookie, give fans a little hope, a little bit of excitement about the future of Carson Beck, and then create the off-season dilemma that we had in 2019 after Josh Rosen. And we get to go, do we keep the quarterback or do we get a new quarterback? And that might be the best thing about this schedule if it plays out.
Yeah, and that's the way you and I kind of looked at it, right? Like it's not the biggest sample size in its winnable games. But that final 4 after the bye, and it's still garbage. But that final 4 after the bye could be exactly what the doctor ordered for the Carson to usher in the Carson Beck era. Now, they're going to have to make some decisions, things of that nature. If they do, win a couple games there and play themselves out of the Arch Manning, Dante Moore. But I look at this and I say, and that's what we just talked about, right? Like, where is the soft landing? I mean, you could talk me into the Lions game. But that's so early in the season. And the last thing you need is if you're 0-4 and getting blown out, because that's the only way to you and I, barring 2 injuries, obviously, but that's the only way to you and I that they could start Beck that early. In that middle of the season gauntlet, I just don't know if you want a rookie 3rd round pick going through that. That's just such, I mean, you look at the defenses, the Rams, the Broncos, the Seahawks, the Chiefs, and the Eagles. Those are some of the best defenses in the NFL. And by the way, they play the Rams twice in that stretch. Like, are you really wanting, I mean, I get it, you're going to test your rookie, but like, is that where you want to go? And so then you look at it and you go, maybe the Cowboys game, but do you really want your rookie quarterback to his first 2 starts to be on the road? Like, that's asking a lot of a rookie, right? Like, at Dallas, at Seattle. Oh, and then by the way, it doesn't get any easier. You host the Rams and then go to KC, right? Like, so that's the thing is the NFL kind of said to the Cardinals, like, here's your late bye. Here's 2 winnable games and a toss-up game with the Saints to end the season. And week 18, who knows? The Niners could be completely in it. The Niners could be completely out of it. Like, that could be a game that you look at and you go, we have no idea. But the NFL really set it up and said, like, here's 4 games of Carson Beck for you. And so that just begs the question, is it, 10 games of Jacoby, 3 games of Minshew, and then the 4 games of Beck? Or is it just 13 games of Jacoby and you're 1-12, 2-11, and you go, yep, guess it's time to just at least take a look, right?
Yeah. And it is kind of fun. Now, unfortunately, it's going to mean a lot of opposing fans, but the fact that they play so many home games at the end of the year, that's kind of cool. And if somehow they were competitive, that would set things up really nicely. But what that actually means is there's going to be a crap ton of Raiders fans. There's going to be all the 49ers fans. There's going to be Jets fans. There's going to be Eagles fans. There's going to be Commanders fans. And especially, we're talking November on, when the weather in Arizona is better than anywhere else in the country, right? And yeah, these fans are going to be looking at, not that Vegas has worse weather, but it's close, and Raiders fans are everywhere. But yeah, so that's in terms of watching football. It gives fans lots of opportunities to go and see the football team late in the year. And if Carson Beck is a quarterback, it gives them a look at that live and in person. You get to see Jeremiah Love, you get to see Trey McBride, and then hopefully the defense not giving up 35 points a game. But it's kind of fun to look at that, because in a season that's already feels like it's a lost season. Sorry, guys, it doesn't feel like. You look at the schedule and you're like, and in our next show, we're going to go through game by game. You're grasping at straws where they're going to pick up victories. And so at least you can, you probably, here's the thing, late in the year, you probably can, for a fairly inexpensive Christmas present, go watch the Cardinals and the Raiders, or the Cardinals and the 49ers at the end of the year. That probably won't be that terribly expensive.
Right, exactly. So yeah, we'll see how that all works out, but I don't know, man. This is an unfortunate schedule. Like, we were hopeful that we could see some positives. And I know people are thinking like you're just being negative. No, like Jess and I, when we put together our schedule predictions, we were trying to play it out of like, hey, maybe this will offer some hope, right? Like, you look at both of ours. I had them getting Las Vegas early in the season. You had them getting the Saints early in the season. We both had them getting the Jets earlier, in the first 10 games of the season. Like, we had them having opportunities to get wins. Didn't mean they were going to win, but better opportunities. And again, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to lose. I want that to be known. But like, when you look at the fact that you've got a schedule that they play 13 games before their bye, and then on top of that, you've got a I mean, you just look at the murderer's row that they're in, and it is 100% tough to look at this and be like, oh yeah, the NFL really respects how the Cardinals run their organization, right? Like, it's hard not to say that they don't, or that it's a disrespectful thing or anything like that, because the reality is this is brutal, man.
Yeah, it's almost like the league put the Cardinals schedule together as that's the throwaway schedule. It's the throwaway schedule. What are the Cardinals going to complain about? They're not going to be good anyway. But anyway, that's enough. That wraps up this edition of the Rise Up Series podcast, the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web, episode 781. We will be back next week at the early part of the week. We will have our game by game predictions. How many wins do we see them getting? How will we see them getting there? Until then, that's Seth Cox. I'm Jess Root. Thanks for listening as always. We'll be back again soon.
Thanks for listening to the latest edition of the Rise Up, See Red podcast. Listen to previous episodes and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Audioboom, or many other podcast platforms so shows are delivered directly to your mobile device. Please give the show a 5-star rating and always support the sponsors who support the show. We'll be back soon for the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. Rise up, Red Sea, be Red, See Red, and of course, Rise Up, See Red.